What a big day we have today, or we would have had today if we weren't fighting a battle against the SEC. Because if you look at the markets, Bitcoin hasn't moved. But under ordinary circumstances, when we get inflation numbers like the ones that we got today, where the inflation number is down from expectations and down 1 full percentage point or 0.9 percentage point, we would have had a market pump. But we're fighting a battle with the SEC, so that's not going to happen. We also have the Hinman documents finally getting released today, or finally being released today, which could be good for altcoins and could be good for XRP. In fact, if you look at XRP, and I know we don't look at XRP very often on our show, but actually XRP did have a little bit of a pump. It went up all the way down to 56. Then people have started to process these Hinman documents, and now it's gone back down to 53 cents. I'm also watching the 𝗕𝗏𝗃 getting a little bit weaker, which is a good sign for the macro markets. And of course, I'm watching the Nasdaq because it's up almost 1%. It's on a tear because all markets are in a bull market, a raging bull market, except for crypto. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about whether we can be the custodians, whether we're going to enjoy any part of this bull market, or whether we are all, I don't know, destroyed because of the SEC actions. There's also a bunch of senators which want to get rid of Gary Gensler. They want to fire Gary Gensler. Now, I don't think that they're going to be able to fire him. So let's get those that excitement out of the way, because it's not actually going to happen. But it is quite cool to see that there are good people fighting our fight, and they are both Republicans. And it now really starts to feel like it's the Democrats versus the Republicans. So listen, lots to talk about today. Let's go. Haven't done for a long time. We haven't done roll call for a long time. So listen, if you're here, stay present. Rayon Clark, if you're here, stay present. Stuart Garside, if you're here, stay present. Chuck's always here. We don't even have to ask Chuck. Gabby the DJ, we don't always have to ask. Gonzo, we don't have to ask. Ferdy, James, Josh, Fred's never here, bro. Fred's never ever here. Anyway, listen, big show today. If you're new to the channel, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel. We are exploding thanks to you guys. Also like this content. We've had huge shows in the last 3 days. We've had unbelievable shows. We've blown any competitors out of the water. Actually, on my Twitter, I'm going to publish the channel statistics of how the Banter family compares to other crypto communities. Let me just show you guys. Let me tell you guys. You guys came out on top, so yeah, congratulations. I'll publish the stats on my Twitter later today. Anyway, let's get into the alpha of the show, because you know my responsibility is to bring you the highest alpha per minute chart. See you guys present. Smash them. Daniel, Rebecca, Creep, present. Go. Paula Dummy, present. Naked Graffiti, likes. Present. All right, let's go. Let's talk about the markets. Let's look at where we are in the markets. Now, under normal circumstances, today would have been an amazing day. Why? Because we had the inflation numbers. The inflation numbers better than expected. Can you believe it? So we got 4% CPI number year on year, okay, which means that the expectations were 4.1%. The last time we had inflation, it was 4.9%. So inflation's down 1 full percentage point. That also means that if you look at this chart, for the last 12 months in a row, inflation has been coming down. Not only has inflation been coming down, but actually inflation has been coming down much quicker than inflation went up. So you can see it took it 11 months to go from 5.3% to 9.1%. And now in 12 months, we've gone from 9.1 to 4.1%. It just shows you that inflation, you could probably say the inflation narrative is very much under control. And we will get to the Fed's 2% target, I estimate, within a couple of months. Now, that spells really good news, because that means that tomorrow, when we have the FOMC meeting, we will get, or possibly not get, an interest rate increase. In fact, I'm just refreshing this because you know this moves very quickly. This chart is, look at that, 98.8% chance that we're not getting an interest rate increase tomorrow. So the market's saying, look, inflation's under control. The Fed probably is going to take a breather. If you look at this chart over here, it shows exactly that. no increase tomorrow, and then they expecting an increase in the next one, which takes it to the terminal rate. Now, I think there may not even be an increase in the next one. Let's just see what happens after tomorrow, and let's just see what happens when Jerome Powell does this tomorrow. Remember, we'll be live both here and on Spaces tomorrow, bringing you the viewing party. So get your whiskeys, get everything ready. We're going to do a viewing party right here, talking about that. Now, look, this is all good news, and to be honest, I'm not going to dig into all the inflation numbers because I think that it'll bore you guys, and I don't think there's much in it. I think suffice to say that what's happening now is inflation is coming down. It's coming down at a much faster rate than it went up, which is very, very, very bullish. And what we are seeing as a result is we're seeing a bull market in pretty much every single market. So look at the US, look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is it's on a tear. I mean, there's nothing else you can say other than it's on a tear. If you look at it since January, the year-to-date return of the NASDAQ is 40%. Is that true? The NASDAQ is up 40% this year. That is ridiculous. Is that right?
No, never.
Hold on. This is the US Tech 100. I mean, yeah, the US Tech 100 is the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is 40%, up 40% this year. Let me just double check that because that looks a little bit. Yeah, the NASDAQ is up 40% this year. Bitcoin this year is up. Hold on, let's see. Let's take the same situation here. Bitcoin up 59%. So the Bitcoin is still up a lot. But imagine you put money into the NASDAQ, safe investments, relatively safe investment. You would have had 40% increase in your money this year in the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is on an absolute tear. And then you've got the Nikkei also on an absolute tear, which is the Japanese stock market. Let's just go back to see what the Japanese stock market is doing. So somewhere around here, because that's where it is. Also up 30% this year. So what you can see is that all the world markets are actually on a tear, and I think it could actually get even more vigorous. This bull market could be even more aggressive. Why? Because now China is talking about stimulus, and they're talking about property support, they're talking about rate cuts, and they're talking about actual stimulus in China. Now, you'll remember that right now, Bitcoin risk assets are actually supposed to be or have been a function of increasing liquidity. Now, when the People's Bank of China, which is this purple color over here, when they start to increase liquidity, and you got Japan increasing liquidity, which is currently what's happening, you could get this bull run in all markets continuing. So under normal circumstances, we could have been the custodians of an amazing bull run. I think today Bitcoin would have been over $30,000 if we hadn't had the SEC coming for crypto. And it's, I don't know, it's pretty sad that because of this coordinated attack that the Democrats are having, that the SEC is having on crypto, we aren't enjoying the fruit of this amazing bull market that's actually happening in every other market. So you can thank Gary Gensler for that. Speaking of Gary Gensler, there are two Republicans that have actually said, okay, look, what we're doing is we want to fire Gary Gensler. But you can't just say, okay, I want to fire a senator. So what they did was they decided to wrap it up almost as a restructuring in the SEC. So one of them is Warren Davidson. And what Davidson says, it says, today I filed the SEC Stabilization Act to restructure the SEC and fire Gary Gensler. U.S. capital markets must be protected from a tyrannical chairman, including the current one. It's time for real reform and to fire Gary Gensler as chair of the SEC. That's what he says. He also says that Tom Emmer joined me in this critical fight to protect our markets. American investors and industry deserve clear and consistent oversight, not political gamesmanship. The SEC Stabilization Act will make common sense changes to ensure that the SEC priorities are with investors they are charged to protect and not whims of its reckless chair. Now, I think that is very, very, very smart to create legislation that protects the US investor from one maniac tyrannical chairman. I really believe it. But I don't really believe that this is going to go anywhere. And I'll tell you why I don't think this is actually going to go anywhere. I think this is political gamesmanship. And I think that here, 2 Republican senators saw a place to score political points. And they did this knowing that, look, in order for this bill to pass, it has to go through the Senate, then it has to go through the House, then it has to get signed by President Biden. Do you really think that President Biden is going to sign a bill that fires the same person that he himself appointed to be the SEC chair? I don't think so. I'd love for it to happen, but I don't want you guys to get excited for nothing, because I saw yesterday on crypto Twitter that a lot of people were like, nature is healing, the time has come, finally this has happened. Nothing's happened. There's a lot of bills that are passed and drafted every single day by senators, and not a lot of them actually get passed. So what's the process from here? It has to go through the Senate, then it has to go through the House, then it has to get passed so the Democrats also have to vote. And now remember, the Democrats are the ones pushing this agenda. They ain't going to vote for this bill. So don't get too excited. I do love the structure though, I must be honest. If you look at the structure of it, what he's saying, in the old structure, you've got Gary Gensler and all the commissioners report to Gary Gensler. In the new structure, you've got a whole lot of commissioners, and half of them are Republican, half of them are Democrats, which is, I think, pretty fair. And then you've got an executive director that almost reports to a board, similar to like a company, like how companies run. You're like, how is a company run? Well, it's run using a board of directors. So the CEO acts on behalf of the shareholders, but he reports to a board of directors that makes sure that the CEO is being fair and doing what he's supposed to be doing and honoring his fiduciary duty. So I do love the structure. I just don't think that it's actually ever going to happen, unfortunately. But look, be that as it may, it is more noise, it is more political points. And what I like about it the most is that you now have 2 Republicans coming out in favor of crypto and Democrats not being in favor of crypto. And why do I say that? Because it would be good if one party went up for crypto and one party was against crypto, and the one that went for crypto would win. Now, I'm not saying that that is going to happen. I'm not saying that that's actually going to happen, but it would be nice if we had a party, the winning party, actually pro-crypto in their campaigning, because then we may see some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of sanity return to the United States. And, you know, I've always said, I think that Americans deserve better. And I think what's happening now is America is acting very much like China. Just they're doing it in a democratic way. But there's no democracy here. The Democrats are doing whatever they want to. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore because our video is going to be banned from YouTube. And we're doing so well. We haven't been banned for so many days. So let's change the topic. Let's go to something else. Let's talk about the Hinman documents, because today is the day that the Hinman documents have to be released. Now, a lot of you don't know what the Hinman documents are, so let's go all the way to the beginning. This is a battle that's been going on for 18 months in the SEC versus Ripple trial, where Ripple have asked for all the documents that relate to the Hinman speech, where Bill Hinman, who was director of corporate finance at the SEC, once said that Ethereum isn't a security. So here is the actual speech. Let's listen to the actual speech, so just so that you can hear exactly what he said, so you all have context. Because a lot of people talk about this Hinman speech. Let's listen to it.
Also, how a transaction might not represent a securities offering. If the network on which the token or coin is to function is sufficiently decentralized, and the purchasers no longer have a reasonable expectation that a person or a group is going to carry out essential managerial or entrepreneurial efforts, those assets might not represent an investment contract. Moreover, when the efforts of the third party are no longer key in determining the enterprise's success, material information asymmetries recede. So what I was talking about, what the third-party promoters know about, but the investors don't know about, if this is highly decentralized, that information asymmetry recedes. As the network becomes more truly decentralized, the ability to even to identify a promoter or to make the requisite, and someone that could actually make the requisite disclosures becomes in many cases difficult or and perhaps much less meaningful. So when I look at Bitcoin today, I don't see a central third party whose efforts are key a key factor in determining the success of that enterprise. The network on which Bitcoin functions is operational, appears to have been decentralized for some time, perhaps from inception. Applying the disclosure regime of the federal securities laws to the offer and resale of Bitcoin would seem to add little value. Moreover, putting aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ether, based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network, its decentralized structure, we believe current offers and sales of Ether are not securities transactions.
So he said that because if the network is sufficiently decentralized and the network doesn't rely on the efforts of one individual or a centralized entity, and one individual or a centralized entity may not have asymmetry of information, then the network is actually not a security. Now, the SEC claim, the center of all of this is that the SEC claim that Hinman was acting alone and his views were not the views of the SEC. That is how they brushed this off. They said, look, we know Hinman made a speech. That speech was Hinman's views, had nothing to do with the SEC's views at all. So what Ripple tried to do was they tried to get the documents as they relate to the Hinman speech. And those documents have actually started to be released. And what you see in those documents, you can see we've done some digging for you, even though they were only released a few minutes ago. We've done some digging for you. And here is one of the documents. Now, what you can see is that this document went to a lot of people inside the SEC. And he says, attached, please find a draft of the speech I mentioned, which suggests that we do not need to see that we do not need to regulate Ether as it is currently offered as a security. We don't need to regulate it as a security as it's currently offered. And then you can see that there is a draft of the speech and that people inside the SEC have commented about the speech. Now, if that's really the case, then you cannot say that the SEC, that Hinman was talking as Hinman and not as the SEC, because if that was the case, then why was this document circulated in the SEC? Why have people from the SEC commented about it? Why was this sent out to so many people? Crazy. And I think that is what 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 refers to when he says, I wish I could go into depth now, but we've waited 18 months plus for this. Now I don't want to overstep that. Anyway, they have released a video. I think it's worth watching some of this video. It explains the situation very, very, very well. Listen to this.
On June 14, 2018, then SEC Director of Corporation Finance William Hinman gave a high-profile speech where he declared that a token is not a security when it becomes, quote, sufficiently decentralized. But internal emails and documents that senior SEC officials repeatedly warned Hinman that his speech wasn't true to the law and would greatly confuse the markets even more than they already were. Now, after more than 2 years and 7 court orders, we can finally share some of what we found in the Hinman speech documents. The SEC head of trading and markets warned Hinman that he was making up factors that, quote, go beyond the typical Howey analysis, as in not in the law, and that the speech could lead to not just confusion, but greater confusion on what is a security. Hinman ignored him.
If the network on which the token or coin is to function is sufficiently decentralized, and the purchasers no longer have a reasonable expectation that a person or a group is going to carry out essential managerial or entrepreneurial efforts, those assets might not represent an investment contract.
The same official told Hinman he should tie his speech, quote.
So anyway, long story short, they have now released, and they're releasing more and more documents. Today was the deadline for them to release documents. They are releasing a hell of a lot of documents. And as a result of this, obviously Ripple or XRP really, really celebrated, but now kind of realized that maybe all of this is actually a nothing burger, because so what? Because Ethereum is no longer a security, because it is sufficiently decentralized, how does that relate back to XRP and Ripple? Is XRP and Ripple as decentralized? And I think that's what the market is kind of saying. The market's like going, well, hold on a second. Thanks for sharing this. We won a little battle, and they celebrated a bit, and the price went up. But now it's like, okay, now let's get back to business. How does this actually change the case? And I think I agree with this 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 cat, who says Hinman mails are nothing burger. They're great for ETH. No idea why Ripple thinks these emails help Ripple's case. And I think I kind of agree with him. I think I kind of agree with him. So that is the Hinman case. The documents are out today. More documents will be coming out. As more documents come out, we will cover them for you and we will bring them for you live, whether it is here or on my Twitter or on the Twitter Spaces, which we're all together gonna join after the show. It's gonna happen. All right, then the next big court case today, very important court case, very important case today, is Binance against, well, the SEC against Binance, and the SEC wanting to freeze Binance's US assets and even trying to freeze some of their international assets. Okay, they've created a link. They said, look, because the international entity was not sufficiently separated from the local entity, actually we want to freeze the assets of everything. Now that's not going to happen, but I think it is worth looking to see what Binance's defense are. Now, first of all, what you need to note, now look, I have to say this. 𝗏𝗏, who used to work for the SEC, he likes to blow his own trumpet. I was going to say something a bit more crude, but I think let's try to keep this a PG-rated show. We've been doing so well without getting shadow banned. But what he says is that the CZ just hired the most qualified criminal defense lawyer. This is a guy that used to work at the SEC. His name is 𝗏𝗏. And 𝗏𝗏 has a great track record at the SEC, and he has been hired by Binance. Now, he's saying, why would Binance hire a criminal lawyer if they weren't expecting criminal charges? So market is preparing for criminal charges. Binance is probably preparing for criminal charges. In the meantime, we have Binance fighting back against the SEC today around why their assets should not be frozen. And they say things like, the relief the SEC request is unwarranted and improper. The SEC must carry the burden of establishing a right to relief it requests. The extraordinary remedies require extraordinary evidence. They're saying, look, we never mishandle customer money. They're also asking, I think I'll find it for you here. He says, why did the SEC let these platforms grow to their current size if this was always illegal? And why now? How is it that all of a sudden emergency happens to coincide with the SEC's assault of the crypto industry as a whole, with Binance and Coinbase being sued on back-to-back days? Why is this all of a sudden an emergency? They've been doing this for so long. Why all of a sudden now has the SEC declared an emergency that Binance was unregistered? That's the first question. They're saying the SEC doesn't have the correct remedies. Then they are saying, second, the remedies that the SEC seeks are untethered to the actual violations asserted by BHL and 𝗏𝗏. Like they're saying, look, whatever CZ did and whatever BHL did, let's go fight it in court. Why do you have to freeze our assets? He said, these are just registration violations against BHL and the control entity for the person violations against Mr. CZ. He says, there is not a single instance in which BAM customer assets were mishandled or misused. Its charges against BHL and 𝗏𝗏, focused exclusively on failure to register, do not demonstrate dramatic remedies that the SEC seeks. Also, it's saying, if you do this, you will our entire business. And I don't think that the court will do that. It says, to the contrary, if it seeks these remedies that are untethered to the claims that have been brought against us, the SEC has failed its own test. When the SEC seeks equitable emergency relief, it understands that such relief must be carefully calibrated to ensure the remedy protects the interest of investors, and it's not going to do it this time. So Binance is fighting back. They also are fighting back later in the document around the allegations that this company called Sigma Chain, which is owned by CZ, actually trades against the customers. And it says, no, it operates several independent trading strategies that are inadvertent self-trading, which is not improper. So what I think is going to happen here, and I may be wrong, but this is what I think is going to happen. I think that they apply for this, it is declined by the court, and then this goes to court, and either then we get a Department of Justice action against CZ, possible, or we see you in court. You don't want to say see you in court and then only see you in like 10 years. That's pretty much what happens. But the bigger thing, as I said to you, is that the message that the SEC has sent to every trading platform out there is that you never know when we're going to come for you. You never know which tokens are actually securities. And when we come for you, we're gonna hit you with a huge lawsuit. Good morning, Yuri. Yuri, you should be watching our show in Spanish, by the way, not here in English. You know, we do have a Spanish channel. Actually, hold on. I want to actually show you a very cool. Well, before we get into the next part of the show, I want to actually show you something. I want to show you our Spanish channel. Can somebody send me a link to the Spanish channel, please? Top of the description. Just pop it for me into WhatsApp so I don't have to go into the video. You got to see this, guys. You got to see this. This is super impressive. And then you can subscribe. If you are Spanish, like Yuri, you can subscribe to the Spanish channel and you can listen to me in Spanish. Is someone sending me the link? In WhatsApp? That would be amazing. It would be great. It would be fantastic. All done. James says, here. Okay, here. So, we have, okay, check how cool this is. This is, I mean, I love AI. You got to believe, you got to see how amazing AI is. So that's our channel. That is our video from yesterday, which in this in Spanish means I'm terrified. Now listen to how cool this is. It actually talks like me.
Escucha, durante la última semana, mucha gente me ha estado preguntando si estoy preocupado por el cripto y el futuro del cripto.
You see, we trained the AI. The AI is actually trained in my voice. So listen, if you are Spanish and you want to watch it in Spanish, then watch it in Spanish. Anyway, remember I said to you that the problem with the SEC action is actually what they've done is they've made it very, very, very scary for any platform to trade any kind of altcoin in the United States because you never know when they're going to come for you. And that's exactly what's happening right now in the United States. You're seeing that platforms are just taking assets and delisting them. It says eToro has a framework in place in which we review crypto assets, and now they are removing Algorand, Sandbox, Dash, Matic. So all these tokens are now being removed. They're not the only ones. Robinhood removed them. You've got SoFi. They also delisting Cardano, Solana, Matic. That can't be good for Cardano, Solana, and Matic prices. I haven't looked at those prices today, but yeah, I mean, those prices not moving very much because those are pretty much now, they are radioactive in the United States. You can't touch them. It's radioactive. Now, the big question is, what's Kraken going to do? Because Kraken is another big US exchange which services US customers. Are they also going to delist all these tokens? We have yet to see what happens. So now you have two specific lists. The first list is the list of securities. The other list is the list of non-securities. So like you have two real lists. Here we go. I'm going to show you quickly. Oh, come on. Why? Let's quickly just sign in. And you can see that there's two indices now. You got crypto securities and then things that are not securities. So you can kind of say they're commodities. And I did watch a video earlier today by 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, and he actually came up with an idea. I don't know if I'm not sure I'm 100% sold on the idea, but it is a good idea. He's almost saying, look, there's a whole lot of tokens that are definitely not securities, and then there's tokens that are securities. And we should potentially look for a narrative where people move all their assets into non-securities tokens, like tokens that are definitely not going to be securities. So what are those tokens? Now, he goes through a whole list, but you can kind of say that the US has never ever said anything about proof of work coins. Like proof of work coins, I think that you can kind of say proof of work coins are pretty safe. Like they've never done anything against Litecoin, Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum Classic, Zcash. So there is a list. Where did I have a list? There we go. I have a list of all the proof of work coins. You can go to cryptoslate.com/cryptos/proof of work. And you can just see all these ones that are proof of work. Now, not a big fan of proof of work, but the reason why these proof of work coins may actually be non-securities is because usually there's no pre-mine. Usually they're all mined as proof of work. So as the work is done and the blocks happen, so the tokens get released. And there's usually no sale in the beginning, and therefore there's no fundraise, and therefore they're not considered securities. Then you got a whole lot of others that may not be considered securities. Like for example, Stacks. Stacks followed a highly regulated process, and they were the first SEC qualified offering in the United States but their token actually is a security, I think. I think it's just registered as a security or something like that. You've also got a couple of other ones. Dot. This is what Chico Crypto talks about. Go and watch his video. Let me know if you guys believe that that these are actually not actually securities. All right, let's quickly look at the bubbles and see what's going on in our bubbles. It's a little bit of a greener day, but I guess you could have expected a greener day after all the mayhem and blood that we've seen in the last couple of days. BNB's up to $242. People in the bubbles are saying Binance chain prediction. Okay, let's have a look here. 𝗬𝗏 up. You know, 𝗬𝗏 made a mistake. There actually is no 𝗬𝗏 community in the world, so there's no one to actually buy 𝗬𝗏 because there's no community. No one cares about 𝗬𝗏. What else is here? What else is running? Uniswap, the DEXs, good DEX narrative actually running. It does look like the market is, I'm going to say pumping, but it is moving a little bit, which is great. It's great. We could get, like, you know, I think the water shall calm down. What we want is we want Bitcoin to close over 26,500. I'm going to say it closes over 6,500 before the weekend. And then that way we close above the 200-week moving average and everything goes back to normal, I guess you could say. Okay, let's just quickly look at the newsroom and see if there's anything happening in the newsroom at the moment. Flex. Everyone's talking about Flex. I've told you guys to buy Flex. I hope you guys listened when I spoke about it the first time. I'm not sure if anyone did. It was at 70 cents. Now $2.62, even in all of this current mayhem. Inflation down. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty much everything that I've told you. So we managed to get the show done in 30 minutes today, guys, which means we do have time for Q&A. If anybody has any Q&A, let's do this. While we're doing Q&A, I do want to remind you that if you are living in the United States, they are going to clamp down on you when it comes to your crypto taxes. So this is a good time for me to talk about one of our sponsors, which is called Crypto Tax Audit. There's a link below to Crypto Tax Audit. Now, they've got a whole lot of services. One, they can just help you with your accounting, but they can also protect you in case you ever get audited. So you can buy audit protection from them. And you can buy anyone that you want. You can buy basic monitoring for $12 a month, where they just monitor your account. $12 a month, they'll monitor it. They'll raise any flags with you that need to be raised. Or you can buy any one of the biggest ones up to $249 a month. And that way they will actually defend you for free. So it's full audit defense for free if you ever get audited. So yeah, that's one of the good ones. Does Rune survive? Rune is good, but I'm not. It's decentralized. It's a good protocol. I don't see how it becomes amazing. And that's why, to be honest, I've reduced my holding in Rune. What are your views on China giving the green light to all additions of BRICS? I think there is going to be de-dollarization. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be headed up by China. But I don't know if de-dollarization into a Chinese currency is actually like a better option. It's like, you want to move from the US dollar to China? I'm not sure. 𝗏𝗏 is Bitcoin 2.0. Absolutely not. I do like 𝗏𝗏, but it's not Bitcoin 2.0. I see it's, you know, 𝗏𝗏. It's Kiwi. It's Kiwi that's talking about 𝗏𝗏. Kiwi. All right, listen, guys. Love you madly. If you guys want to watch our Spanish channel, just click on the link below. Help us get subscribers for the Spanish channel, because that way we can, the next one we'll do. Actually, let us know what you think the next one should be. Do you think it should be Russian, Korean? What do you think I would sound better in? Russian, Korean? What do you... Yeah, let's do a poll. Do a poll. What should be the next language that we launch after we launch in Spanish? We have launched in Spanish, but we're going to launch all our shows in Spanish. And then after it, let us know. What else is there? No news. Then we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Actually, no, we're going to see you guys again on the Spaces. We're going to be on Spaces on Mario's account. Then tomorrow is a big day. It's FOMC meeting. I'm going to be broadcasting. From broadcasting, I'll go into Spaces, and we're going to do like a 7-hour Spaces. So I'll see you guys again at that Spaces. Until then, trade well, my friends.